Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, you see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time in the second half of the show to take live questions. But here on the weekends, far more casual. All we do is take your live questions. And that's what we're going to do. And I hope you guys are having a fabulous weekend so far. I'll tell you what, this is already a great weekend for me. I got two of my favorite things going on this weekend. Number one, big UFC fights tonight. 2 titles on the line tonight. Very excited. It's going to be a great card. And tomorrow night, of course, it is my second favorite day of the year. My favorite day of the year is Christmas. My third favorite day of the year is my birthday. My second favorite day of the year is, of course, the Oscars. And the Oscars are tonight, and I'm very, very, very excited about it. And I just cannot wait to see it. It's going to be great. I mean, very predictable, I think, this year. I think this year is very, very predictable, but I'm excited about it nonetheless. Hey guys, listen, we were backed up on a whole bunch of questions before, but Robert Meyer Burnett came to the rescue. He did a big companion video of all the outstanding questions that we had, and so that went up this morning, so you can go see that there. But we had a lot of other questions come in since then, and that's what we're going to get to here today on Open Mic. And listen, there's 2 different ways you can send in questions. Number one, you can use the tip link in the top line of the video. That's the best way to do it. Use that tip link in the top line of the video. Head in there, use that, and it's great. The second way is you can just use the super chat feature in YouTube right here if you wish. All right. With that down, let's get into the questions for today. And our first question today, we're going to get picked up here with Russell Amador. And Russell Amador writes, Barney, the movie that will subvert expectations. I know, right? That is like one of the... We talked about it before. One of the stupidest things, for those of you who missed out, they're doing a Barney movie. Barney the dinosaur, yes. And one of the producers said one of the dumbest things everywhere. Said, this will subvert audience expectations. Like, I don't know, is he going to have a coke habit? I'm not quite sure what they're talking about. All right, Damien Domford writes, hey, John, it's been a while since I've sent a message. Good to have you here, Damien. Just wanted to wish you a happy Oscar weekend, and I hope you enjoy the show with your family and friends. Listen, movies are like some of the most important things to me. The biggest event on the movie calendar year, celebrating the year in movies, even if it's going to be a very, very predictable show. It's still something I look forward to every year. I cannot wait, and I hope you guys are able to enjoy it as well. All right, Colby Harris writes, I'm beginning to work on my own show for YouTube. Excellent. Good for you, man. It's all about nerd stuff, movies, comics, video games, and more. I'm calling my show Nerdvana. I'm looking at a premiere date of August. My show will be weekly episodes. It's a good idea. Start weekly. Just be consistent. That's the only thing. Like, you don't have to be the John Campea Show where you have a show every single day. But just be consistent. If you're going to do it weekly, do it weekly. If you're going to do it every Monday and Thursday, do it Monday and Thursday. But that's a good way to stop, and that's excellent. I think more and more fans should be adding their voices to the conversation. So good luck with that, Colby. And I hope you have... The most important thing is, have fun with it. Doesn't matter if 5 people watch it. Doesn't matter if 5,000 people watch it. The important thing is, have fun with it. Make sure you're having a good time. And it's something that's feeding your inner geekdom that allows you to have fun with it. You know, that's the key, most important thing. So keep that in mind. All right, Bullet 1510 writes, hey, John, I had assumed that the catalyst for Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, was Wanda's eventual insanity, but now I think it could be Loki going up against the TVA, who policed the multiverse and burning it to the ground. Your thoughts? I don't think so. Listen, there will be, obviously, the name of the Doctor Strange 2 is Multiverse of Madness, but I don't think they're going to wrap all of it in together. And what is it? The Transvariance Authority or the Time Variance Authority, the TVA, at any rate. So we see that on Loki's jumper suit. He's got the letters TVA on him. It's kind of like a prison jumper. I don't think they're going to wrap that all into one big thing. I mean, they can, but I don't really see them doing it. Plus, Loki isn't really a doctor. Look, in Thor Ragnarok, Loki and Doctor Strange did have a moment. So maybe there's something to build off there, but I don't know that they'll so tightly connect, and I don't know that it would be a good idea to so tightly connect 2 shows on Disney Plus with one of the feature films. It's one thing to have them connected. It's another thing to make them intrinsically bonded together that, hey, if you don't have Disney Plus, you're not going to get this. You're not going to understand what's going on in the movie. Like, that would be going too far. So I think they're going to be very, very cautious about it. But there could be ways to do it. And like I said, to your point, we did have that little Doctor Strange and Loki dynamic going on in Ragnarok. So, I mean, anything's possible, but I don't think they'll go there. We'll find out as we get closer to those dates for sure. Good theory, Bullet. All right. Kolal 1708 writes, there's a rumor about, who cares about rumors? There's a rumor about Rogue being in Captain Marvel 2. Do you think they will use Rogue as a way to retcon / alter certain things about Captain Marvel, as well as bring the X-Men into the MCU? I'm talking about Rogue taking her powers, of course. No. Kevin Feige already said that he had the next phase of movies, he had the next 5 years of movies planned after Endgame, prior to even having any idea that Disney was going to take over Fox. He's come out, but people didn't believe him. So they thought everybody was there's so many videos about, oh, no, here's why we're going to get an X-Men teaser in the post-credits of Endgame. And then that didn't happen. Oh, we're definitely going to get an X-Men or a Fantastic Four, Easter egg in the post-credits of Spider-Man Far From Home. And it didn't happen. We just refused to believe Kevin Feige. Feige was very clear in saying it's a long-term plan with this. He already had the next 5 years of movies planned. He already knows what he wants to do with Captain Marvel. Now, that's not to say it's impossible. It's not impossible. And one of the benefits of Captain Marvel 2 is that it's not coming in the next 1 or 2 years. So could they have made room? Maybe, but to introduce Rogue would mean that if Kevin Feige already had his Captain Marvel movie planned, and he already had his outline, for them to shoehorn in Rogue means they're just going to have to take their whole idea, just throw it away and start from scratch. And I don't see Rogue as being the first character you introduce of the X-Men universe into the MCU. I just don't see that being a good play. So I'm going to guess no. I don't think there's really much of a chance of that. But again, this is the world of comic book movies. Don't discount it. Don't say it's 0%. Anything can happen, but I'm willing to bet against it at this point. But we'll see. We'll see. Right now, we're just speculating. Okay. Bullet 1510 writes, according to The Hollywood Reporter, the Loki series writer is now writing the Doctor Strange 2 script. Another indication that Loki could be a major... No. Could be a major factor in the film. I hope so, as the Loki / Doctor Strange scenes in Thor 3 were so funny. No, I don't think that's anything at all to do with anything at all. Any more than Deborah Chow directed a couple of episodes, the best episodes, of Mandalorian, and she's directing Obi-Wan. That means Mandalorian's going to be in Obi-Wan. No, it doesn't. No. Again, we go back to what I said before. Anything is possible. So I'm not going to sit here and rule it out completely, but I don't think a writer being involved is any indicator, positively or negatively, that we're going to see those characters cross over that way. Again, never know. And I'm just a fan speculating. I'm not saying I have insider information. I don't. I'm just like you. I'm speculating, but I don't think that's the way they'll go. We'll see though. All right. Logan James Kynaston writes, with all due respect, why do you think people say that James Dean is one of the greatest actors of all time? He was great with such an unfortunate short-lived life, career, and filmography. How can we judge him fairly? I don't know. I don't hear a lot of people saying James Dean was one of the greatest actors of all time. I think he was an iconic actor but I think he was iconic, and I think most people would agree with this. I think he was iconic for things more specifically about the particular pictures he appeared in and the whole mystique of who James Dean was, more than him truly being one of the greatest thespians of all time. I don't hear a lot of people saying that, Logan, to be honest with you. That said, one never knows. I mean, you're absolutely 100% on the money. One never knows what he would have done. Could he have continued being great? Could he have become better and improved and become maybe one of the great actors of all time? Maybe. Could he have digressed? Like we've seen there's been a lot of actors come out, win an early Oscar, and then they kind of fade into obscurity and they're never really able to recapture that lightning in a bottle they had again. Would he have regressed and become forgotten? Would the legend and the mythology of James Dean just kind of faded out and not become a thing anymore? Maybe. We'll never know. You're right. A lot of that is all wrapped up in the tragedy of him, which I think is also part of the mystique of James Dean, is the tragedy. So it's really difficult to say, Logan, but I'm with you. I don't think people should be saying he's one of the greatest actors of all time. Although, hey, everything's subjective. If people watch this stuff and think he's one of the greatest performers ever, okay, that's fine. I'm just saying from my experience, I don't hear a lot of people saying that, and I certainly don't say that. But yeah, I mean, I think you basically zeroed it right in, though. You exactly laid it out the way it is. It's something that we'll never know really what he could have been. And I think that's important to keep in mind. But again, for myself, I don't hear a lot of those conversations happening. But anyway, excellent observation, Logan. Thanks for sending that in, man. I appreciate that. All right. Him Jelper writes, how are films profitable on Netflix / make money? They sell them to Netflix, and there's some sort of revenue share that goes on with Netflix. I don't know all the inner workings of Netflix. Very few people do. But there are licensing deals, and then there's probably some bit of revenue share that goes with it. From Netflix's point of view, the way they make money on it is by having people subscribe to Netflix. And they got to keep providing content for people to stay subscribed and get new subscribers subscribed to Netflix. That's how they make money. How the films themselves make money is they get a licensing fee from Netflix and probably some sort of percentage revenue share based on the amount of volume that people watch the movie. I'm guessing, but again, I'm not going to pretend to know all the complete inner workings of Netflix. I was with a company that, sold a show to Netflix. Back when I was at the Stream, we sold Hey Queen to Netflix, but I didn't actually know the specifics of the revenue side of it. But again, my assumption at this point is there's an initial licensing fee that you get for it going on Netflix, and then probably some kind of revenue share. That's my guess. All right. Also, prediction for Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. Khabib easily. Listen, anybody can beat anybody with one lucky punch. Okay, just be clear about that. Anybody can beat anybody with one lucky punch. That could happen, but that's Tony Ferguson's chance, a lucky punch chance. Other than that, Khabib's going to win. Christopher Bigelow writes, Campy fans, do not take an edible and go see 1917. I thought I was in literal hell. Who was it that said that? I can't remember if it was Aaron or Rob or somebody said, yeah, take an edible and then go watch 1917. Probably not a good idea. I don't partake of edibles myself, so I can't really answer that question per se, but it sounds like sage, wise wisdom, Christopher. Sage, wise wisdom you're dishing out there. All right. Artur writes, John, it's the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, not the fabulous. Oh, you're right. Yeah, who cares? You're right. You're technically right. It is the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, not the fabulous emancipation of one. You're right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make the movie any better or any worse. But for the record, you are correct. All right. Django 19 writes, had a snow day today, so I stayed home and saw The Farewell finally. Nice. Rented on Google Play for $1. Best $1 I've spent this year. Great story and performances. Had me on an emotional roller coaster. Brought back good memories with grandparents who are all gone now. Somebody asked me, if you had to boil it down to one key thing about The Farewell that makes it truly special, I love movies, be they action, adventure, thriller, or something more emotional like The Farewell, that puts you as the audience member in the hero's dilemma of, what would you do here? What would you do? Do you save these people or do you save these people? What do you do? Right? I love it when movies can really effectively get us, the audience member, to feel the dilemma of the hero when they're faced with a what do I do situation. The Farewell, overall, I'm not going to give anything about the movie away, but this is the basic plot. The main question faced by our protagonist, Awkwafina, is her grandmother is dying, but nobody is telling her grandmother that she's dying. Her grandmother thinks she's in perfect health. And everybody else knows except her. And the question is, they have a long family tradition of when somebody in their family is dying, you don't tell them because you want them to enjoy the rest of their life. But at the same time, don't they have a right to know? And that's this, and you find yourself transported into this dilemma. It's just one of the many, many things that I loved about that movie. And you can make a real argument The Farewell probably should have gotten a Best Picture nomination. I mean, that's one that probably should have got a nomination. But Brilliant movie nonetheless, regardless of whether it got a nomination. I'm glad you had a chance to see it, Django. All right, let's move on here. An anonymous viewer writes, you hate the Marvel fake death universe because you know they're coming back. I hate the Star Wars fake director universe because I know whoever they announce, they're not coming back. I don't get excited anymore because it always ends in disappointment. It's true. Look, that has been... Other people have other criticisms of Kathleen Kennedy that I believe are shaky reasons at best, but I also have some issues with Kathleen Kennedy. I'm a big fan of Kathleen Kennedy. One of the greatest producers in the history of the business of Hollywood. Absolutely. Steven Spielberg says so. If he says it, good enough for me. But he's right. You look at her resume, it's impeccable. But she has not been a good studio head. She hasn't been a good studio head. Kevin Feige, through 23 or 24 films, has had less than half of the filmmaker drama that Kathleen Kennedy has had over the span of 5 films and now 1 TV show with another hopefully coming. Less than half. I've always said the main job of her as a studio head is to plug in the right people with the right projects, to vet them, to make 100% sure you're on the same page with them and they're on the same page with you, that they get your vision and you get theirs, and we're all 100% same page. You're the right person for this. Boom, boom. That is her number one job, in my opinion. Number one job. And what we've seen is time after time after time after time after time, a creator involved, creative differences gone. Creator involved, creative differences gone. Creative involved, too late to reshoot the movie, like Rogue One. Let's go in there and take the director out and put in a new director to reshoot a bunch of the scenes. Lord Miller, granted, she should have known they weren't going to do what she wanted them to do, but still, Lord Miller were making a movie that they did not agree upon. So she removed Lord Miller, brought in, one of the really great directors of our age in Ron Howard. And the movie ended up being really good. I mean, I like Solo very much, but it's just time after time after time after time after time. Now this whole Obi-Wan situation, it's just, that's her thing. She is incapable of properly vetting, getting the right people, making sure you're 100% on the same page, in the same vision, and then running with it, because it always falls apart. Not always, that's hyperbole. But more times than not, it falls apart. And it's, she is one of the greats in Hollywood. She's one of the greatest of all time. And I'm a big fan, and I always will be, but this was not the right job for her. Listen, there were very few people that were as excited about Kathleen Kennedy getting that job than I was when it was first announced. And I believe I was right for being excited. Spielberg says she's one of the greatest producers of all time. George Lucas handpicked her, but tons of reasons to be excited about. And I was excited. But we're many years into it now, and what we've seen is a lot of drop balls. The ball, as they say in football terminology, has been dropped. She's fumbled way too many times. And you're right, anonymous viewer. That's just what we come to expect now, unfortunately. All right, Django19 writes, forgot to put my name on the fake director tip, but anyway, I saw the Best Picture nominees this year, except for Little Women. Which one is your least favorite? Mine would be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though I enjoyed it. I would take that out and put in Just Mercy over or The Farewell. Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is absolutely my least favorite of the Best Picture nominees. I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Don't get me wrong. I went to go see it 3 times. I enjoy it. But to me, it is not one of the better Quentin Tarantino movies. Quentin Tarantino has made at least 6 or 7 movies that are better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I liked it, but I also have major issues with it. I would absolutely take out Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I would probably put in The Farewell. The Farewell is the one I would probably put in its place. I also like Just Mercy very, very much. I like Just Mercy very much, but I would give The Farewell a little bit of an edge over it personally. All right, Django writes, who do you think would win, Jones versus Adesanya? The Last Style Bender versus Bones. It really depends on the weight they fight at. It really depends. Honestly, it all comes down to the weight they fight at. If Bones goes down to Airbender's weight, I think Airbender, his speed, his variations on his technique, his just overall game, I think it would be too much. The key element being speed. If Stylebender went up in weight, I think he might be in for a little bit of a rude awakening. Suddenly now he'd be carrying around more body weight in the ring than he's used to. John Bones' power is going to come into play. John Bones, who won't go through a massive weight cut in order to have the fight. So it really is, it's that close, but I think it would be that close. I think if they went down in weight to fight at Stylebender's weight class, Stylebender wins. If he goes up in weight to fight in Jones's neighborhood, I think Jones wins. So it's really that tight. All right, Dom Hurley writes, "Hey John, have you ever seen the movie The Wanderers from 1979? It's a great film about young gangs in the 1960s. I think a remake of this would be great, as most people I've spoken to have not yet seen it, but films like The Warriors, they have. Your thoughts?" I think I know the movie we're talking about, but many times we've seen where I thought I knew the movie we were talking about and I didn't. So let me just pull it up here. If it's the one with the red poster, Wanderers. Let's see here. The Wanderers, 1979. Oh, with Karen Allen. You know what? No, I do not believe I have seen this film with Karen Allen. Interesting. You know what? No. Now, one of the things working against it as a remake is, I mean, we got West Side Story coming. There is already Warriors. And since this isn't a really popular IP, you don't have that benefit going for you as a remake. So I don't know if that I see a lot of hope in it being remade. But this is one that has not been on my radar. So thank you for sharing that with me, man. Nice pick there, Dom. Nice pick. All right. Adam Henson writes, "Hey, John, what is your opinion on the Amber Heard situation? Leaked audio, and isn't hypocritical if she doesn't get the reaction as Depp?" I'm not talking about that. Like I said the same thing when the Depp stuff come up. Look, all I'm going to say is this. The only thing that is clear, because everybody's forgetting there are witnesses and photographic evidence of Amber Heard's claims, and now there's evidence of Amber Heard's involvement. The only thing that is clear to me is that you had a very toxic, bad relationship. That's all that's clear to me. Anything else, everybody's trying to bring their own political agendas into it, and I'm not going to get involved. So I'll leave that to TMZ nonsense. All that's clear to me with everything that's came out is that this is a really bad relationship. That's all I see right now. And by the way, you know what? No, I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to get involved in that. I'm not going to get involved. Dave Atkins writes, "Thoughts on the Sega Model 3 Star Wars trilogy? Shame it never got a Dreamcast release. Looked amazing in the arcade at the time." Did it not? I thought I played that on Dreamcast. You know, like the side scroller, Empire Strikes Back, and the lightsaber Luke in his outfit hitting the snow. I don't know why I've got it in my head that was a Dreamcast release. I'm going to have to go back and look into that. But I remember playing the games a lot when I was a kid. And actually, it's funny because a buddy of mine had a really cool emulator, like about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And he's like, "Dude, I even got those Star Wars games." And I'm like, "What?" And we played like those Star Wars games, those games you're talking about one night. But I thought for sure that was Dreamcast. Oh, well, learn something new every day. But I did have a lot of fun with those games at the time. They don't hold up particularly well. As very few games of the era did. But, I mean, I remember I loved them as a kid. All right, Call of Duty God writes, "I sent in a really large tip." Thank you, Call of Duty. "Hey, John, I just seen Happy Death Day to You, and it was as good as the first one on Amazon. Did you see it, and what were your thoughts? I love the character tree, and I haven't teared up a movie since Jojo Rabbit. Do you know the scene I'm talking about?" I can't. No, not off the top of my head. Here's the funny thing. I loved Happy Death Day. It looked like such a garbage, throwaway, little cheap horror film, and I was thoroughly entertained by it. I love that movie. And for whatever reason, despite the fact that I was one of the biggest cheerleaders for Happy Death Day, I was very late to watching Happy Death Day to You. I was incredibly late to the party on it. And I don't know why, I didn't get a chance to see it opening weekend, and then other new movies were coming out, so I needed to stay up, and it just took a long time for me to finally get around to watching Happy Death Day to You. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I heard some people say they liked it even more than the first one. I didn't have that experience. The first one was still better to me, but I very, very much enjoyed it. I saw it once or twice, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know the scene we're talking about off the top of my head. I don't remember the scene off the top of my head, but I do remember I enjoyed it quite a bit. It did not make nearly the amount of money that the first one did, which is really unfortunate because, again, I just thought this series was really good. I thought it was really good. Anyway, Call of Duty also writes, I didn't expect to get that emotional from a funny, goofy horror flick from Blumhouse Films. I don't want to spoil the scene for you if you haven't watched it. I recall you like the first one and hope you try to watch it soon. Love the show. Well, that's the interesting thing. Even if you go back to the first film, and I might be remembering now what you're talking about. Anyway, but if you go back to the first film, there's a scene in the first film where she sits down with her dad. Now, I'm not going to give anything away for those of you who have not seen it yet. But if you haven't seen it by now, you're probably never going to see it. But still, there's a scene in this movie, Happy Death Day, where she sits down with her dad, and they're talking about her mom who had passed away. And it was this utterly surprising oasis of emotional connectivity between the movie and the audience and between two characters on screen that hit me as very surprising and unexpected in a very, very good way. Because up until that point, the way you described a Call of Duty, it's goofy, horror, fun, Blumhouse horror flick. And then comes this really human moment in the film with this really great scene that I got a lot more out of than maybe most people did. And therein lies one of the really good things about this thing. And again, it just kind of speaks to the point that whatever genre you have, when you can mix in different human experiences, whether it's horror, laughter, crying, emotion, whatever, when you can mix it up and make your film multidimensional, it just makes it better if you do it right. But that's a really good example. Thanks for bringing that up, Call of Duty God. All right. Dave Atkins writes, as much as I loved Endgame, two scenes I would have loved to see. Number one, Tony before he died forgiving Bucky next to him. I don't think that was very important to anybody. I mean, anybody in the movie itself. Two, Star-Lord at his mom's grave. I got to disagree with you, Dave. I don't see any need for those scenes whatsoever. Listen, Tony didn't know Bucky. There was no real connection. There was just a quick moment. It's like, oh, you're the guys causing the problems. Oh, I just found out you're the one who killed my mom. Kill murder mode. And then it's gone. I don't see why he would forgive Bucky. And I don't see why. It's not like we got to remember Bucky and Tony didn't have the relationship that Bucky and Cap did, right? Tony didn't know Bucky. And therefore, there was no importance to me as an audience member to see some tender reconciling moment like we got between Tony and Cap. We didn't need that with Tony and Bucky. And I think it's already a movie that was way overstuffed. As much as I love Endgame, it was way overstuffed. To add in something else that really wasn't important, I'll disagree with you with that. Also, Star-Lord at his mom's grave. Again, I don't see how that was relevant to this story. You want to throw something like that in a Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Okay. Then it's at least a little more. Now you're at home in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 thing, but we've moved on from that. It's been a couple of films and a 20-year flashback since his mom died. So it wasn't really relevant. And to stuff in yet another thing that didn't need to be there, I got to disagree. So I can see where you're coming from. I'm just saying I personally disagree, but I'm sure, Dave, there are probably a lot of people that are reading your suggestions and love the idea. I'm not one of them. That's all. All right. Nerd Talk writes, are you going to do a Birds of Prey spoiler discussion? I said no, but I might. I think I just might do a Birds of Prey spoiler discussion tomorrow. I would have to do it early, though. Earlier than I normally like to do spoiler discussions because I've got a full day tomorrow. I've got the Oscars and everything, a bunch of people coming over. So maybe I might do a Birds of Prey spoiler discussion. If I do, it'll probably be like 11 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. East Coast time, probably at 11 in the morning or 12 noon. But I will let you guys, you'll know later today. So if I put up an event on my YouTube channel for tomorrow, you'll know it's happening. If you don't see one pop up later tonight, then it's probably not happening. But I'm still trying to figure out if I have the time to do it. Okay. Hawker Walks writes, more influential Hollywood figure, George Lucas or Walt Disney? I'd give Disney a slight edge since he pioneered the entire animation industry. You know what? I am inclined to agree with you. You know, somebody once asked me, like, who is more influential, George Lucas or A, B, C, D, or E? And I said George Lucas was just more influential. I'm not saying he was better than everybody else, but he was probably more influential. Disney might be the one name that may have been more influential. So I think I'm going to agree with you on that one, Hawker. I'm going to go with Disney as well. Alex Spur writes, "Hey, John, have you seen the new Big Lebowski spinoff movie trailer, The Jesus Rolls? John Turturro is reprising his role from The Big Lebowski. Looks like it will be hilarious. I hope it is." I remember I watched the first trailer for it months ago. Because there was actually, I'm trying to remember which language it was in. There was a foreign trailer for it months ago. And we brought it up and talked about it on the John Campea Show when it did. And I didn't realize until I saw the news headline that, first trailer for the Jesus Rolls. I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't put it out in English yet, had they? They hadn't put out an English version yet. So anyway, it looks really intriguing. The cast is great. So I'm fascinated by it. Now, this was a movie that was actually done like 3 years ago. I don't mean they started shooting. I think if I'm not mistaken, this is a movie that wrapped production like over 3 years ago. So this one has been sitting on the shelf for a while. So it's interesting that it's taken this long to come out, but I'm looking forward to it, Alex. I'm looking forward to it. All right. K Major writes, wait a second. Is that? Yes. K Major writes, things that keep me up at night. How does Kong encounter Godzilla? True. He's stuck on an island. He can't fly, and I don't think he can swim. He's too big to be transported. They better not yada, 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 some BS. But then I'm not a writer. It'll be interesting. Well, I mean, there are two things. There have been two traditional questions when talking about Godzilla versus Kong. Number one, the Godzilla we've seen in the movies compared to the King Kong we saw in Kong Skull Island is a lot bigger. That Godzilla is a lot bigger than the King Kong that we got in Kong Skull Island. So the first round of questions that everybody always had was, how can Godzilla stand a chance? Or how can King Kong stand a chance? Well, the filmmakers later described, we are not seeing a fully grown King Kong yet. So I'm assuming we're going to get a fully grown Kong in this new movie. Next question. How do they get him back there? Well, there does look like the two of them are fighting on an aircraft carrier. I don't, or some kind of giant oil ship. I don't know. And maybe he did learn to swim. Or Godzilla goes to him. Godzilla's swimming through the ocean. So either Kong learns to swim, Kong gets, in the traditional classic Kong story, Kong gets tranked out and then transported back to mainland. I mean, there's a lot of different potential. Or maybe Rodan. I don't know. Maybe Rodan flies down out of the sky and picks him up and says, Rodan, give me a lift. Yo, I got you. And he flies him over to me. I don't know. But there's a world of possibilities. World of possibilities. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I just hope it's better than Godzilla King of the Monsters, because I know there's a bunch of you guys that liked it, and that's awesome. I know Robert Meyer Burnett loved that movie. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was disappointed by it. So I just hope that this one is better than Godzilla King of the Monsters. All right. K Major also writes, do you think the success of Joker affects Harley Quinn in the sense that people make the connection that, hey, Joker was awesome and here's a movie about his girlfriend? They don't share the same universe, but just a name association, Joker and Harley. Here's the hard part. There are a lot of people who have no idea there's a connection between Joker and Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, in terms of comic book age, Harley Quinn is still a relatively new character. In terms of comic book age. So I don't know if I asked my cousin, do you know who Harley Quinn is? I don't know that they would know who that was outside of what Margot Robbie has done. And I think anybody who does know Harley Quinn outside of what Margot Robbie has done would ever associate the Joaquin Phoenix Joker with the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. So it becomes a question of which people, because I think we in our little circles that you and I are a part of, we always just assume everybody knows what we know and everybody thinks what we think, and that's very much not true. So, ultimately, no, I don't think it's going to have much of an effect. I don't think it's going to have much of an effect. Other than people going to go see a Joker movie, thought, hey, that was great. Okay, now we got another movie based on a comic book film. Well, the last one I saw was great, so why not go give this one a chance? So there could be an effect on that level, but I don't know necessarily because of the connection between Joker and Harley, because I think there's a lot of people, I think the majority of the average movie going audience don't make those connections that you and I make. So we'll have to wait and see. Interesting question though, K Major. All right, Ali Hussein writes, hey, John, I finally started listening to the Star Wars books. Nice. My knowledge of Star Wars is movies and TV shows. First book I started listening to was Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. It was really good. Afterwards, I was listening to Lords of the Sith. Lords of the Sith is the outside of the Thrawn trilogy. The original Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy, which was way back in the 80s. Outside of that, I think Lords of the Sith is the best Star Wars novel I ever read. Maybe running a close second to that one would be another book by Claudia Gray called Lost Stars, which is an incredible book told from with an incredible concept, re-looking at the events of Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi through the eyes of two new antagonists who look at what's going on in the events of Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi from two different points of view. It is a fabulous concept that reads like a young adult novel, but don't let that deter you. It's really great. I don't even think Master and Apprentice is the second best Claudia Gray book, to be honest with you. I think she's got a couple of really great ones, but definitely get through Lords of the Sith. That's my all-time favorite one. And then after that, check out Lost Stars. It's absolutely fabulous. Glad you're getting into that, Ali. All right, K Major writes, what do you think they'll do with Shia's role as Indy's son? I personally wasn't a fan of the character. No fault to Shia, that's how he was written. But I don't think I want to see his character return. People don't even mention him. I'm cool with a retcon. They don't need to retcon. They just say his son's on somewhere else doing something. Listen, I have a dad that I love and adore. But if you told a story about what I'm doing over the next few weeks, my dad's not going to be in it. But he's your dad. Yeah, but I only get to see my dad a couple times a year when I get to go home to Canada. I mean, he's not going to be part of my story for the next few weeks, right? So I don't think you need to retcon anything. He's just not there. He's off doing something else. He's off somewhere else in the world, living his life, doing his thing, right? So yeah, I don't think he's going to be there. Number one, I don't think we're going to see Shia LaBeouf's character in there. And number two, I don't think it's going to require any kind of a retcon. All it's going to be is a minor mention of, yeah, he's, studying ancient temples in India right now. Okay, that's all you got to say. That's where he is, right? No retcon needed. And you didn't need to have him in there. So there's, to me, it's not an issue. All right, K Major also writes, do you still feel invested in the Arrowverse now that Arrow is over? Actually, no. Or is it time to make a slow exit? Flash is the only one worth watching. I know you like Black Lightning. I do like Black Lightning quite a bit, actually. I've never seen an episode myself, but I don't even bother with Supergirl, Batwoman, or Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow I tapped out on. I thought it was okay for a while, but I eventually tapped out on it a year or two ago. I watched the first two episodes of Batwoman. Did not do it for me, which is too bad. And, well, we all know my opinion of the Supergirl show. But I really do enjoy Flash. I really do enjoy Black Lightning. Particularly, his daughters are fascinating to me. I love his daughter. The character. Okay, so Black Lightning, you haven't seen an episode yet. Black Lightning is about Black Lightning, but it's really more about his family, including his two daughters, who discover that they have inherited metahuman abilities. Not necessarily the exact same ones, but metahuman abilities from the father, and they actually become the more interesting characters to me. But so it's a good show. So I'm not checked out, but Oliver was the centerpiece of that universe. And with him gone, I have not chosen to check out of the Arrowverse. But I realize a part of my mind and heart have checked out. I mean, because he was it's kind of the same way that when Ragnar was no longer in Vikings, I didn't make the choice to check out of the show. I just realized my head checked out of the show. I tried watching a few more episodes after Ragnar wasn't in the show anymore, but it just wasn't the same to me. I mean, Ragnar was gone, and I had kind of emotionally disconnected from the show on that. It wasn't a choice. It's just what happened. And I do kind of feel that a little bit about the Arrowverse right now. Even though I still adore Black Lightning and I still adore Flash, but I don't know. I'm going to have to see if my heart gets back into it now that Oliver's gone. I'm just going to have to see if my heart gets back into it. All right. Celsi Baratheon writes, any Marvel movies you'd recommend? Haven't seen them before. I mean, almost all of them. If you're going to start anywhere, how do you recommend 2 or 3 to somebody who's never watched any of them to have any kind of sense of what's going on? Well, you can start with the first Avengers. I'll go 4. How do you just recommend 1 or 2? I don't know how you do it. Because any movie I'm saying, you can't go start with Avengers, John. You won't understand Avengers if you don't watch Iron Man 1 and Thor 1 and Captain America the first. Yeah, you will. You'll be fine. Those are great movies, but you'll be fine. I would just say, listen, if you're in the really lucky spot right now that you haven't watched any of them, if you're looking for a recommendation of 3 or 4, I might go Avengers, Captain America Civil War, Avengers, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War. There's going to be some missing pieces there, but if I had to only recommend 4. But really, you're in the enviable spot with no time limit. Go back and just start with Iron Man 1. Go back and start with Iron Man 1 and just work your way through. If you only want 3 or 4, take those ones that I recommended. If you feel adventurous and you want to start at part 1 of something that's probably going to take you a couple of months to get through, go and start with Iron Man 1. But there's different ways you can approach it. All right, Ali Hussein writes, now I am listening to Thrawn by Timothy Zahn, the first book. I like Thrawn on Star Wars Rebels. Now he became my favorite Star Wars character. I found all the Star Wars books on Audible, but not Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. Oh, it's there. It's there. I don't know why. Maybe license issue? I am absolutely positive it's there because also, let me look up, because my first experience with Lost Stars was in Audible format. Let's see here. Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. And yep, there it is, Audible. It's right there. Let me see if I can bring it up here for you. Yep, right there. Audible, you can see right here, audio book right there. So yes, it is absolutely available on Audible. Go on and check. I'm not super big on the new Thrawn books. Like back in the 80s, the Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy, that was great. I'm okay with the Thrawn books, the new Thrawn books, particularly the final of the 3, but they're not nearly as good as some of the other ones. But absolutely, Lost Stars, 100% is there. You can go find it right now. All right, Hector Jeter writes. Where are we at here? There he is. Hector Jeter writes, hey, John, has there been a movie this past decade that's in your top 10 to 15 of all time? It's hard for me to put a recent movie in my top 10 because I need to invest years in rewatching, enjoying it over time. Happy Oscar weekend. A movie in the last 10 years. No, actually, I don't think any movie in the last 10 years has made it into my top 10 list. It's difficult to get a new film to crack a top 10 list. Now, I think you said something really smart there, Hector. For something to truly make it into your top 10 list, you got to let it simmer. You got to let it marinate. You got to watch it and not jump to anything. You got to sit there and let it age for a couple of years before you decide to do that all-important thing of cracking open the door to the top 10 list that you have and actually giving it a place in there. I think it's something you can't make on the spur of the moment. I think you got to watch it a few times, marinate it on a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But for me personally, yeah, I haven't really thought about it, but no, I don't know. No movies in the past 10 years have made it to my top 10 all-time favorite list. Interesting question, Hector. I hadn't really thought about it like that. All right, Frankie G writes, The Outsider on Prime is decent. Stephen King story because of Ben Mendelsohn. I will watch him in anything, no matter the quality. Another for me is Kate Beckinsale. Love Kate Beckinsale. In the Underworld films, I have to watch them. Do you have an actor like that? An actor that I'll watch no matter what it is they're in? Oh, yeah, probably several. Like, I'll watch Denzel Washington in anything. I'll watch Chiwetel Ejiofor in anything. I'll watch Daniel Day-Lewis in anything. I will watch Ryan Reynolds in anything. I will watch Hugh Jackman in anything. I will watch Margot Robbie in anything. I will watch Meryl Streep in anything. I will watch Tom Hanks in anything. So yeah, I've got a large number of them, Frankie. I actually have a large number of them. Frankie writes, numbers looking so-so for Birds of Prey so far. Yeah, but remember, this was never going to be a huge blockbuster movie, right? I think if this thing can make 40 million, they're okay. This isn't an Avengers movie. This isn't Justice League. This isn't a movie that was ever going to make 100 million plus opening weekend. I think if this movie can come in, and I don't really like Birds of Prey. I don't hate it. There are certainly a lot of things about it that I like, but as a collective whole, as a movie, just didn't really work for me, unfortunately, despite the fact that my excitement for it got kind of high. But I think if it can pull off 40, it's okay. So I don't think they're worried so far. We'll have to wait and see, though. Let's wait till Sunday to get the actual numbers. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, I just remember Kirk Douglas was on The Simpsons as the creator of Itchy. As long as I have my health, my millions of dollars, my solid gold house, and my rocket car, I'm happy. I don't remember that, but I have no doubt that he did that. Listen, Kirk Douglas, who just passed away at the incredible age of 103. Kirk Douglas, you'd be surprised how many things he actually did. And so I'm not surprised at all. I don't remember that one in particular, but what a great long. As long as I have my health, my millions of dollars, my solid gold house, and my rocket car, I'm happy. Well said, Mr. Douglas. Well said and well quoted, Ryan. All right, Frankie Gouge writes, embarrassing confession. I love Sabrina on Netflix. A lot of people do that, man. That's not that embarrassing. Why? Reminds me of The Boys and their treatment of superheroes. The witches in Sabrina are mean and evil. Even the protagonist does some evil. How witches would be in our world. I haven't watched it. I mean, I watched a bit of the first episode. I'm like, yeah, this show isn't for me. That's fine. So I don't have any skin in that game, like positively or negatively, whatever. But I do know a lot of people love that show. And yeah, so man, don't feel bad about that. If you watch and you like it, you watch and you like it, dude. You watch it and you like it, my friend. All right, Hector Jeter writes, I know you love The Force Awakens. I do. Say the next or a future Star Wars movie that's pretty much near perfect and it blows you away. Would you rank it above the originals or would you still put it below the originals? Can a new Star Wars movie dethrone Return of the Jedi for you? Yeah, of course it can. It absolutely can. So you're asking a question. If a better Star Wars movie comes out, will you say it's better? Yeah. But it just hasn't happened. And it's an incredibly high bar to beat. That's why when a new Mafia movie comes out, I don't go, is it better than The Godfather? Because that's an impossible thing to beat. But if a mob movie comes out that is better than The Godfather, then we will say it's better than The Godfather. It's still up to a subjective choice, but I'd have to watch it and feel that it's better than Return of the Jedi. I don't think it's going to do that. I don't see another Star Wars movie ever getting made that is better than New Hope, Empire, or Return of the Jedi. It's just perfection. It's just perfection. All personal, all personal subjective opinion, of course. But yeah, if something came out and it was better, then yeah, I would say it's better because it's new Star Wars. Yay, something that's Star Wars and even better than the originals. My God, this makes Star Wars even better. I would be thrilled to do that. But it hasn't happened, and it's really an impossible bar. All right. Frankie Gouge writes, an overlooked comedy performance of the last couple of years for me is Dallas Mark Roberts in the controversial Insatiable on Netflix. No opinion on the show, but he reminds me so much of the great John Ritter that it hurts. I've never even heard of the show. Just with no surprise there. Well done, Netflix. No one ever knows what's on your network. Netflix is so good and yet so terrible at marketing their own stuff. Netflix is so bad at marketing their own stuff. It's crazy. And so I keep having people write to me all the time and say, oh my God, John, did you watch this little movie on Netflix? Like, nope, didn't even know it existed. John, have you seen this show on Netflix? It's really good. Never even knew it existed. They're just terrible at that. But anyway, thank you for giving props. Frankie, good on you, man. You saw a performance you loved and you wanted to give it props. Dallas Mark Roberts in Insatiable. Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm glad you like it. Now, at least it's on my radar. So you just did Netflix's job for them. Netflix never let me know about it. Netflix never thought it was important to make sure people knew about it. But you made me know about it. You just did Netflix jobs for them. I hope they give you a check. All right. Russell Amador writes, hey, John, any Saturday there's an open mic involved. It's bound to be a good day. Oh, thank you so much for that, Russell. It's a good day for me, that's for sure. I always have fun doing these. On another note, the new Invisible Man trailer dropped, and it has me that much more excited for it. February is going to be a good month with Lodge and Fantasy Island. I am very excited about Fantasy Island, and I loved that first Invisible Man trailer. My big problem with the first Invisible Man trailer is that they gave the whole movie away. They gave the whole movie away in the first Invisible Man trailer. The first Invisible Man trailer is amazing up until about, 20 seconds left. There you are. It's like, why are you showing that in the trailer? Why are you showing this in the trailer? What could you possibly be getting? What could you possibly be getting? Why would you do that? The trailer was so good up in the point. Anyway, I am very excited for the movie. I am. But I'll tell you what, Logic's great too, but there's this new take on Fantasy Island. I remember when that trailer dropped and I saw, I'm like, oh my God, this Barney producers is subverting expectations. So let's wait and see. All right. Undead Sick 83 writes, hey, John. So the latest news of the Resident Evil series by Netflix is going to deviate from 24 years of established canon. This is exactly the kind of shit I'm talking about that upsets fans invested in the franchise story and characters. Thoughts? Resident Evil sucks, and you got to take things in a new direction. I mean, listen, I've never liked any of the Resident Evil stuff. I've never thought any of their movies were any good. I've never thought of any of that. But so as somebody who's not invested in Resident Evil, let me give an example of something that's a little bit similar to what you're talking about, right? So J.J. Abrams, years ago, decides he's going to reboot Star Trek, however you want to define what it is they did with the Kelvin timeline, whatever. He decides to take another go at Star Trek. And me and Robert Meyer Burnett have had this discussion a lot. There are a lot of people who are original Trek fans that are like, they didn't want it, they didn't like it, they wanted their Star Trek. They want original series and Next Generation. That's Star Trek to them. And they were just forgetting that literally Star Trek died. Star Trek fandom had been dying off. Literally dying off, and they weren't creating new fans. And remember on the John Campea Show, we brought up a big chart of all the Star Trek movies, and they started doing this in the box office, all the way down, and they got worse and worse and worse. The box office performance got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Nobody cared about Star Trek anymore. That was the situation we were in before J.J. Abrams' Star Trek came along. They had died. It had died. You can't continue. They say that the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expect different results. If you want to bring in new fans and you want to bring in that kind of stuff and you want to be bigger than you were before, you can't just keep doing the same shit. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you can be the Toronto. That's been one of the biggest problems with my beloved Toronto Maple Leafs, is that there were decades long where, hey, this isn't working. Try something drastically different. Nope, they just kept doing the same things under the Harold Ballard era and all that kind of. They just kept doing things the same way and magically hoping the results would be different next year. If you want to shake it up, you want to bring in an influx of new fandom. Then you got to try change. You got to try change. And I would say, don't be the kind of fan that goes, no, Do it the way you've always done it and the way I like it. But by the way, that's me a lot. I do that a lot. And I'm trying to fix that about myself. I am. But often I'm one of those guys. No, that's not the way I remember it, not the way I want it. Well, listen, the way you remember it and the way you want it doesn't quite work to the level that they want it to work. It's not bringing in new fans. It's not doing new things. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and hope something changes. And by the way, what I would say to Rob, when these new Star Trek movies, it didn't erase Next Generation, and it didn't erase Deep Space Nine, and it didn't erase the original series. They're all still there. But now it's time to try something new. So try something new. So, and listen, maybe it'll be better than all the other Resident Evil stuff. Maybe it'll suck like the other Resident Evil stuff. I'm just speaking from my own personal perspective. I know there's a lot of people that love it, and that's great. So maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be terrible. Who cares? You still got all that Resident Evil stuff, but if you want to try to get new audiences and new fans involved and maybe make it bigger than it ever was, you got to try changing it up. You got to try changing it up. And I think if you're real fans, and again, I'm guilty of this. You and me, brother, I'm guilty of this. I think if we're real fans, what we got to do is resist the urge to just go, no, nothing different, no. Because it is what we do, right? I do it, you do it, we all do it. It is one of our tendencies. But I think we got to resist that tendency and just give it a shot. And if it doesn't work and we don't like it, then we say it doesn't work and we don't like it. Fine. But if it's good, then embrace it. So I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. But it does speak to a tendency I think myself and probably all of you guys all have when it comes to like trying something new, trying something different. But we also got to recognize that when something needs a change. So let's see what happens. All right. Undead Sick 83 also writes, hey, John, as you know, I have a big love-hate relationship with comic book / MCU movies. That said, I want to give it some credit. Comic book movies I do love. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Man of Steel, The Winter Soldier, Wonder Woman, and Logan. Yeah, I mean, listen, there are some people out there that are like, comic book movies? Pshaw. Whatever. Then there are some people who are like, anything that's a comic book movie is automatically awesome. It's like, come on, man. That's not fandom. I agree with your mentality. Look, there are comic book movies we like. There are comic book movies you don't like. I love Shazam. I love The Dark Knight. I love Man of Steel. I love Avengers. I love it. I don't like, and then there's a list of comic book movies I don't like. So good on you, man. Good on you for not throwing up a definitive wall and saying, I just don't like comic book movies, period. Or saying, I love anything automatically as a comic book movie. Good on you. You've got films you like. You got films you don't like. That's how we approach things. All right. Slim Trav writes, thoughts on the XFL? Will it succeed or fail again? I'll tell you what. I'm a big football fan. I can't see it succeeding. Let me say this. I hope it succeeds. Because I would love to have football for more than 4 months a year. 4 or 5 months a year. I would love to have football for more than just that. I don't think it's going to work, though. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it's going to work. All right, Chris Warden writes, 1 of 2. Hey, John, it was 7 years ago that I first discovered you on YouTube. It was also around that time that I first met my girlfriend, 2 of 2. Now I'm happy to announce that we're engaged. Oh, and expecting our first kid. That animal magnetism you used on Anne must have rubbed off on me. Dude, congratulations to both you and your fiance, I guess I should say. To you and your fiance and your... Dude, that's a whole lot of good news in one little package. That's a whole lot of good news in one package, man. Congratulations on that. And I'm kind of honored that I've got to come along on the journey with you, dude. So congrats to you and your fiance, man. That's awesome news. Congratulations, man. All right. ZOMG Ruler writes, I liked Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Could this film have legs? O.W. Low. I don't know what that means. Anyway, I don't know. Listen, I'm in this awkward position where it's like a lot of the critics really like this movie. And let me say this. This movie is certainly better than 2 months ago I thought it would be. Let's say that. This movie, if you go to the John Campea of about 2 months ago, and that John Campea got to see Birds of Prey, it's certainly better than I thought it would be 2 months ago. Absolutely, it's better than I thought it would be. However, if you get the John Campea from 3 days ago, that was all excited now about hearing all these great things about it, and you guys could probably see it on my face, I was actually getting kind of stoked for this movie. Yeah, it is not nearly as good as I had hoped it would be. a lot of really good elements. You know, I liked Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I loved Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. There are certain elements about the movie that I think are done really, really well. But just again, the whole of it, the sum of its parts, as you put the pieces of the puzzle, some great pieces, but the puzzle doesn't quite fit together. It just didn't work for me. But so can it have legs? It all depends on, does the average movie-going audience feel the same way I do? Or do they feel the same way that the majority of the other critics do? Because if the average movie-going audience likes it like the critics do, they'll go back to see it a couple times and they'll bring people with them, and it could have some legs. If they feel the same way about it that I did, they're not going to go see it again, and they're not going to try to bring friends along with them to go see it again, and so it won't. So I think we got to wait for a couple of days to see how that kind of shakes out. Anyway. But again, better than I thought it would be a few months ago, that's for sure. Tim Platt writes, XFL has officially kicked off. You're going to check it out. Let's go Defenders. # defend the district. I am going to check it out. I have not yet, but I am going to check out the XFL. Like I said just previously, I hope it works. I would love for there to be more football. I just have my doubts that it'll stick because it hasn't stuck before. I hope it does now. Keeping my fingers crossed. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, happy weekend, John. Happy weekend to you. # the Oscars 2020. I got my list of predictions prepared. If I get 50% of the nominees correct, I'll consider that a win. Absolutely. But listen, there are some I think there are 6. I think there's 6 automatics. 6 automatics. Best Picture is 1917. Best Director is Sam Mendes. Best Lead Actor is Joaquin Phoenix. Best Lead Actress is Renee Zellweger. Best Supporting Actress is Laura Dern. Best Supporting Actor is Brad Pitt. I think those 6, there, you got 6 of them right away. I mean, it's if any of those don't win, I'll be surprised. If any of those don't win, I'll be surprised. And maybe this Oscars needs some surprises, because right now it looks like a very predictable Oscars. But here's hoping. Fingers crossed, man. I'm looking forward to it. All right, fan of Peanuts writes, 1 to 2. I'm rooting Parasite to get Best Director, Joker for score. Joker's got a good shot at score. Picture and supporting acting, it's not going to win Best Picture. Although, you know, everything's got a chance. Deacons for cinematography, I think that's almost a lock as well. JoJo adapted screenplay. Knives Out original screenplay. I do think those are the 2 that will play out. Production design 1917. Editing for Parasite. I don't think it should win for. I think Ford v Ferrari should win for editing, to be honest with you. But anyway, Pesci for supporting actor. Dern for supporting actress. Animated. I Lost My Body. John and You. Well, I'm not going to go through all. I gave my picks on the John Campea Show yesterday. So we went. Me and Aaron went through all the nominees yesterday, gave all my picks yesterday. So yeah, I mean, best animated, I do think it'll be Toy Story 4, despite the fact that both Missing Link and Klaus have been getting a lot of momentum going. I just think the Oscar voters are just going to really be connected to Toy Story 4, so I think that's going to win. But yeah, the other things I gave my votes on yesterday. All right, fan of Peanuts also writes, will you be doing a watch along with John in the Oscars? This year should be quite fascinating. I made an error before. I meant to say lead actor for Phoenix. No, I won't be doing a watch along. I thought about doing it. For those of you who are wondering what fan of Peanuts is talking about, in previous years, once or twice, I've turned a webcam on, me and Ann sitting down watching the Oscars and just having everybody watch along with us. I'm not going to do that this year because I have too many people coming over, and it would be inconsiderate of me to say, well, if you're coming over to my house, you have to understand you're going to be on camera streaming live to the world the whole time that you're here, and have people feel uncomfortable or whatever. I just can't do that. So no, I will unfortunately not be doing any live watch-along streaming this year. Although it was fun, and I might do it next year, but I'm not going to be doing it this year. All right, Jose Miaz writes, are the XFL rules better than the NFL rules? I'll be honest with you, I'm not really clear on the XFL rules, so I know the CFL rules are better. NFL's a better game, but I think the CFL rules are better, but I don't really know the XFL rules. Jeff Hill writes, Birds of Prey with a $33.8 million opening. Well, we don't know that yet. I mean, the numbers, the first report doesn't come out till tomorrow. So keep that in mind. That's what some are projecting right now. Birds of Prey with a $33.8 million opening, lowest for DC since Jonah Hex. This is disastrous and looks like this movie is going to be a huge flop for DC. Why do you think that is? I think one of the big factors was the awful marketing. Again, let's wait. Let's just put a pin in that and wait till tomorrow. Like I said, I've always said if they can get to about 40, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Look, a movie about Harley Quinn, that was never going to be $100 million movie. You can't attach the same expectations. And remember, I don't even like the movie, but you can't attach the same expectations as to, look, comic book movies are not comic book movies, right? They're not all the same. They're all different. They all have different expectations, different ceilings for success, and all that kind of stuff. You can't compare a spin-off character of a villain to a major hero. So you're talking about 3 degrees removed now, because you got Batman, that's your main draw. Then you got Joker, who's his villain, and then you got Harley Quinn, who's the sidekick to the Joker, becoming her own character now. Yes, but I'm just saying, you can't expect that to have the same type of box office returns as a Wonder Woman or as a Captain America. Like, you can't expect that. Or a Superman, you can't have that. That's unrealistic expectations. So no, I would contend that even if it comes in at like 34, 35, that's a little low, but I wouldn't call it disastrous, because I think they knew from the beginning this was not a $100 million movie. So again, let's put a pin in it. Let's see what the actual numbers are come Sunday and Monday. Maybe they'll be a little bit better. Maybe they'll be a little bit worse, but it's a little bit too early to jump into it now, but I wouldn't call it disastrous. I wouldn't call a 30 plus million disastrous. It's certainly not good, but I wouldn't call it disastrous. But remember, again, this is not like a Superman or a Batman. This is not a character that's been around for 4 decades or 8 decades or whatever. This is a relatively new character who is a sub-character to a sub-character. And I just don't think you can approach the same level of expectation that you do with others. So I just don't see it that way. And I don't like the movie, so I mean, there's that. All right, Joshua Howard writes, what are your thoughts on the story of the 1974 Philadelphia Flyers, better known as the Broad Street Bullies? Well, you're talking about, Clark, who was the captain of the team, with that famous missing teeth. Well, first of all, the whole Broad Street Bullies team at the time were like all missing teeth, and they were a rough and tumble bunch. And they were a rough and tumble bunch in an era where hockey was a lot rougher and tumbler of a bunch of players. And they were like the kings of those heaps when it comes to that. They had some fantastic, epic encounters with Montreal Canadiens and all that kind of stuff. And Clark was one of my favorite players of all time. Simply one of my favorite players of all time. But yeah, I mean, I'm a hockey fan, so I'd be down to seeing a movie about the Broad Street Bullies, but I don't think anybody's going to make it, because I don't think anybody else would go to see it, unfortunately, but I'd be down for it. All right, Snake writes, Birds of Prey is funny, has good action, and Margot Robbie is great in the lead, but the script is very weak and the villains are one-dimensional. I still like the movie, but the animated show is still the better emancipation of one's Harley Quinn. I agree. There are funny moments in Birds of Prey. There's some good action in Birds of Prey. Margot Robbie is great in the lead. I actually very much like Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. He was one of the more enjoyable parts of the movie, and I like the hyena. I really did like the hyena. It's a bad script. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think that cartoon show, which I thought looked like total garbage, and I thought the trailers for the cartoon show were terrible. I had no interest in watching that show, and now I love it. The animated show Harley Quinn is vastly superior to this Harley Quinn movie. Again, I don't hate this Harley Quinn movie. I don't hate it. I don't like it either. But the animated show, ridiculously entertaining. All right. Fan of Peanuts writes, watching Elizabeth, 1998. Oh my God, Daniel Craig is in it. Which Elizabeth is that? Hold on a second. Let me look this up here. IMDb, 1990. I can't remember which one we're talking about here. Is it the one? Oh, see, it's a good thing I looked up. This isn't the one I was thinking of. This is not the one saying that. This is the one with Cate Blanchett. I do not. Daniel Craig was in this? I don't even remember him being in it. Man, I know I saw this movie. Does this have Ralph Fiennes in it? Hold on a second. I mean, not Ralph Fiennes. His brother. No, I don't think he was in this one. I know I saw this movie, but I cannot remember it. I cannot remember a thing about it. Anyway, Fan of Peanuts writes, are you looking forward to The Last of Us 2? I am. Yeah, I really am. Fan of Peanuts also writes, how did Gladiator not win Best Motion Picture Score? BS. Listen, the Gladiator score is remarkable, and it was, of course, composed by Hans Zimmer. It was remarkable. It was fantastic, and it would have won in a lot of other years. But that just so happened to come out the same year that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out. And the score in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is stupid good. I mean, stupid good. So, hey, I'm with you. I love the score to Gladiator. Totally loved it. But, I mean, that I honestly don't have a complaint about the score from Crouching Tiger winning. I thought it was pretty remarkable. All right, let's see. Mobius writes, is it important for Sonic to do well post-redesign to prevent a precedent for studios to not listen to trailer criticisms as it won't help anyway? No, I don't think so. Look, let's say Sonic bombs. Okay, let's say it totally flops. If it flops, I am telling you right now, it has nothing to do with the redesign. If Sonic comes out and it stumbles and it falls and it makes no money at the box office and it loses tons of money, it has nothing to do with the redesign of the character. None significance. None significance. Zero significance? No, none significance. None significance. If this movie falls on its face, falls into the mud, loses the studio tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, it has nothing to do with the redesign. There's no argument to be made, well, it would have made more money if it kept the other. It's just the design of the character. It wouldn't have made more money if they didn't redesign it. It would not have made more money if they didn't redesign it. I also believe the opposite is true. If this movie comes out and does reasonably well, it has nothing to do with the redesign. The movie's going to be good or it's going to be bad based on its own merits. The design of the character, I think, will have very little to do with it. So if it comes out and flops, it's not going to be because they redesigned it. If it comes out and does well, I don't think it's going to be because it redesigns it. I really don't think there's a lot of significance attached to it at all. I really don't, but that's just me. All right, Russell Amador writes, the name's Ash. Shop smart. Shop S-smart. Of course, from Army of the Dead. I love that movie. Sam Raimi, now directing, hopefully, it looks like is going to be directing Doctor Strange 2. Interesting mix there. Fan of Penis also writes, my number one anticipated film this year is Tenet. You? No, I am looking forward to Tenet. Don't get me wrong. Very, very much, obviously. But no, it's not my number one most anticipated film of the year. Chilaxin Eskimo writes, have you seen Honey Boy? Yes, I did. It dropped on Amazon last night. I didn't realize. No, I got screener copies of it. I watched Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon on the same night. What a great... Now, I personally slightly prefer Peanut Butter Falcon. But what an incredible year for Shia LaBeouf. I mean, it's just... If he's not back on everybody's radar, and by everybody, I mean people in the industry, which I never thought he was probably far away from people on the industry's radar because he's just a remarkable talent, then he's back on there now for sure. All right. Let's see here. John McKinney writes, if Hollywood does indeed make Catcher in the Rye, which is problematic, should it be PG-13, hard PG, or R? It's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. It all depends on what approach the filmmakers take. And if the approach you take requires it to be R, then I guess be R. If the approach you take means you could totally tell this effectively with the PG-13, you go with it. There's no one rule that says this should be R, this shouldn't. There's very, very, very few movies that you can actually have that discussion with. So to me, it really all comes down to what kind of approach do they want to take with it. So it'd be really, really, it's hard to say. Fan of Peanuts writes, first time watching Driving Miss Daisy last night, 9 out of 10. Beautiful, wonderful movie. Oh God, I remember the first time I watched Driving Miss Daisy. And you've got, why am I freezing on, hello? Why am I freezing on, oh God, why am I freezing on his name? Hold on a second. Let me just pull this up here. Man, I cannot believe I'm freezing on this guy's name. Why am I freezing on one of the most popular names in all of movies? But I'm having, this is what happens when you're answering 500 questions at the same time on the same day, and your mind goes off in 1,000 different directions. Morgan Freeman. Why was I freezing on Morgan Freeman's name? Anyway, Driving Miss Daisy. It came out. What year did it come out in? I'm going to say, I'm going to guess early 90s? 89. Came all the way out in 89. With the great Jessica Tandy. A lot of people forget that Dan Aykroyd was in the movie too. It is a brilliant, brilliant film. I'm glad you had a chance to get caught up on it. I still can't believe I froze on the name of Morgan Freeman. Anyway, Cinema Reviews writes, here's my biggest question about Birds of Prey. All this chaos that Harley is causing, and it never got Batman or Joker's attention. Again, I can't go into that. I'm not going to talk about specifics in the movie, so yeah, I can't really talk about that, unfortunately. John McKinney writes, which actor or actress would you like to see play a villain? I'd like to see Jessica Biel play a villain. She's never done it before, so why not? To me, I don't know, like X actor, next role, I don't really care about. Just put an actor in a role that suits them. I don't want to see Jessica Biel playing a villain just for the sake of playing a villain. If there's a villain that comes out and there's a part that's written and it's written in such a way that it would be a really good fit for Jessica Biel, who, by the way, is a really good actress. I think people, because she's so beautiful, and this happens to some actresses, because she's so beautiful and because of everything else going on around her, married to Justin Timberlake and all that, I think people forget that underneath all that, she's a really good actress. Then yes, but not just see a villain for the sake of playing a villain. I remember for a lot of people, the concept of Jonathan Lithgow playing a villain at one period of time was like absurd. Jonathan Lithgow, he's not a villain. And then he played some wicked villains. So that would be kind of interesting to see. All right, let's see here. Jay Dashy writes, my neighbor is an executive at Cinemark. I asked him why there are more movie trailers and commercials before movies now. He said a lot of it has to do with theaters wanting customers to sit there and go buy snacks if they haven't already. Your thoughts? Well, that's not a very good reason. Because it does not negate, you're not adding value to the customer. You get me to pay you $15 for a movie at 7 o'clock, then I paid you. You don't get to show me 30 minutes of ads. And out of the hope of like boring me so much that I just get up out of my seat and go buy more crap. That's not a good reason. As a matter of fact, that's a slimy reason. So I think that's pretty slimy and I have no doubt there's truth to that, but it's slimy truth nonetheless. All right. CMF Vids writes, hey John, big fan from Hawaii. Thank you so much, dude. And I was just wondering, if DC continues with their Harley Quinn stuff, would you rather see Birds of Prey 2 or Gotham City Sirens? I have no interest in either. There's just far too many other top-notch DC properties that I would much rather see first. I have very little interest in either of those. So I just saw Birds of Prey and I didn't like it. So just by process of elimination, if I had to pick one, I guess Gotham City Sirens. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you don't execute a movie right, it does not matter. It doesn't matter if you make Doctor Doom the villain of a comic book movie. It doesn't matter. They've done it 3 times. It's never worked. It's all about whether you execute. Hell, you can make an Ant-Man movie. Think about that for a second. Think about how utterly ridiculous that is. Ant-Man. That's stupid. It's utterly stupid. But they executed so well, and the movie's great. It's so great. So it doesn't matter. You can get a Doctor Doom, one of the greatest comic book villains of all time. That's not going to make your movie any better. It all comes down to execution. And if they're going to execute the way they executed Birds of Prey, then it's probably not going to work, and I'm not interested. So it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. All right, Cinema Survey Movie Reviews writes, DC has less production drama than Star Wars. Crazy. Yeah, but they don't average $1 billion a film. So, I mean, yeah, not a ton of production drama, although they certainly have had with everything else. They certainly have had a lot of production drama, but not as much as Star Wars. You're right about that. Demetrius writes, have you seen Gangster #1? I really liked it. Not thinking of it off the top of my head. Gangster #1. Let me see here. Oh, I know this movie, and no, I have not. I know the movie, Malcolm McDowell, but no, I have not seen it. So, yeah, there's that. But I know the one you're talking about. I didn't off the top of my head, but I know this movie, but I can tell you that I have not seen it. All right, Ben Raymer writes, thoughts on Frisco Kid with Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford. I love the Western comedy. Gene as Yiddish rabbi and Ford as a bank robber. Favorite part, they jump off a cliff and Gene yells, oh, she it. And Ford says, oi, Gewalt, such a funny movie. I have not watched it. What year did that come out? What year did Frisco Kid come out? I've heard of this movie. And I'm aware of the movie. I believe it came out in the 70s. Hold on a second. When did it come out? Come on. 79. Okay, close. It was almost the 80s. 79. No, I've not watched that one. That one I'm not familiar with. A fan of Peanuts writes, one of two. Top 10 horror films of the decade. 10, The Lighthouse. But is it a horror film? I'm not sure I qualify The Lighthouse as a horror film. But anyway. The Lighthouse. Number 9, Hush. Number 8, A Gerald's Game. That one's... with Bruce Greenwood. 7, It Follows. I was not a fan of It Follows. I remember me, Anne, and our friend Dorina, none of us had seen it. And Dorina's husband, Brennan, none of us had seen it. And we were all hanging out at Dorina's one night. And we thought, let's watch It Follows. Everybody's talking about how awesome it is. And we was like, yeah, and we put it in. And we're all like, at the end of it, it's like, that wasn't very good. I don't know. For whatever reason, it never worked for me. All right, number 6, A Quiet Place. Number 5, Hereditary. Number 4, Raw. 4 film. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Where are we at here? Number 3, Get Out. Number 2, The Witch. Number 1, The Babadook. Honorable mentions, It, Ouija, Origins of Evil, Dr. Sleep, Oculus, Mother, Let Me In, Compliance. I don't know. There's a few that I would put much higher, to be honest with you. That's just me. I'm not resonating with a lot of the films on your list. I mean, Hereditary is great. I'm not even sure I'd call Hereditary a horror film either. It's a great film. I'm not quite sure I'd call it a horror film. Gerald's Game is great. I don't know if I'd have on top of it. Quiet Place, I've got it up there, but a really interesting mix of films there, fan of Peanuts. Nicely done. Sam Phillip writes, this Thursday is the 83rd anniversary of the first theatrical Disney movie, Snow White. I love it. Still holds up. Have a great weekend. Is it really the 83rd anniversary of it? Like, seriously? 83 years since Snow White came out? Holy crap. Oy. I mean, it's obviously, I just didn't think it would be before my grandfather's time. I mean, it's just weird when you think about it that way. And it is, and you know what? It's totally magical. It's still a totally magical movie. It's amazing. The original, totally in all of its glory, still completely holds up. Let's see here. Also, John writes, hey, John, discovered your show a few months ago and now watch daily. Oh, thanks so much for that, man. I appreciate that. Wondering your favorite Nolan movies. My top 5. Number 5, Interstellar. Number 4, Dark Knight. Number 3, Inception. Number 2, Tenet. If it has already happened. Yeah, can't put a movie you haven't watched yet on your top list. Number 1, Die Hard. I'm sorry, what? Anyway, Die Hard is not a Christopher Nolan movie. Anyway, I don't do top 5s or anything like that, but I will tell you my favorite Christopher Nolan film to this day is actually not The Dark Knight, nor is it, any of them. My favorite Christopher Nolan film is a little movie he did with Hilary Swank, Al Pacino, and Robin Williams called Insomnia. That is actually my favorite Christopher Nolan film. And I just have a deeper appreciation for it than a lot of other people. Now, a number of other people, like most people will say Dark Knight. Then outside of Dark Knight, a lot of people will say Memento, which is also magnificent. Memento is incredible. But Insomnia is actually my favorite of his. That's my favorite of his. Anyway, Fan of Peanuts writes, John, what are some of your top decade horrors for you? I don't do top lists or anything, things like that. But, films like, I loved Lights Out. I loved the one with Stephen Lang, where not like, what's it called? When he was a blind guy, I'm freezing on the name of it. That was a huge one to me. Those are a couple of ones that kind of really stand out to me. Fan of Peanuts writes, keep one and lose one, The King's Speech or Logan. That's tough. I keep The King's Speech and lose Logan. I love Logan. I love it. It was my favorite film of the year it came out, but I prefer The King's Speech. Mark Battleotto writes, hey, will we be getting a best of decade list? Yeah, no, probably not. I thought I was going to do one, but I'm probably not going to do one. Dimsum05 writes, I hate when people call CGI lazy, disrespectful. CGI, only people who are completely ignorant and have no idea what goes into it call CGI lazy. CGI takes far more work, far more man hours, and far more money in most circumstances than practical. So yeah, usually when people say CGI is lazy, I go, okay, so you clearly don't know how this works. And that's perfectly fine, whatever. By the way, I'm not saying that CGI is always better. There are many situations where practical is the best way to go. But somebody making a choice to go CGI, it ain't laziness that moves you to do that. It isn't laziness. All right, Man Mountain Gherkin writes, I think Ragnarok is the most tragic MCU movie because for me, seeing tragedy with a face, Thor, affects me deeper than seeing tragedy en masse. It's true. Tragedy that is more personal can be more impactful. Still, it's hard to ignore the events of Infinity War. Half of life in the galaxy is wiped out. But up until Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok was the most tragic. Despite the fact that it was a comedy, it was the most tragic. It was the darkest of the MCU movies, despite having a lot of comedy. The destruction of Asgard, the death of Odin, the Thor losing his eye, Thor losing Mjolnir, Thor having his own sister trying to kill him. I mean, there's so much darkness in that movie, but it's wrapped up in this like comedy shell. It is the most tragic of all the MCU movies until Infinity War came around. Like at that, half the life and universe vanished. That's pretty tragic. All right, Triple J's Thoughts writes, hey John, love the show as usual. Thank you so much, Triple J. Loved your latest best movie, worst movie. I laugh every time you bring up your worst Tom Hanks movie, The Terminal, as I am currently in an opera called Flight that shares the same inspiration as that movie in Victoria, BC. Yeah, so the latest installment of our best movie, worst movie podcast, which is of course me, Cody Miller, and Robert Meyer Burnett. Our latest episode that just went up is the best movie and the worst movie of Tom Hanks films. And yes, everybody knew what my worst was going to be. I've always thought The Terminal was probably his worst film. But a lot of people do really like that movie, including, I believe, the two guys I do the podcast. I think they both really like that movie, but that was my worst one. So that's kind of funny that you're in something that's kind of associated with that. So thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, dude. All right, Suthius writes, Diggle moving to Metropolis. Hope to see him more. It'll be interesting to see more. Like, I love that character. I really, really do. So it'll be interesting to see if he does have a life beyond Arrow. Trevor Massey writes, hey, John, would you rather sit next to Wayne Gretzky, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, or sit next to Steven Spielberg at the Oscars? Thanks. Ooh. Man. I'm going to have to go Spielberg at the Oscars. Now, if it was sitting next to Wayne Gretzky on the bench in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals that he was playing in, there. But I think, how could you not want to? First of all, I'm at the Oscars. I can go to any Stanley Cup game that I want. If I want to sell my car and come up with the money to buy a ticket to a Stanley Cup game, I can go to any Stanley Cup Finals I want, any year, any place. That's not true with the Oscars. So to be in the Oscars and setting with Spielberg, I think I'll have to take that. All right, Suthius writes, saw Joker, love the character more than the movie. But here's the thing. The character is the movie. That's a part of it. You can't separate the character from the movie. The character is an integral part of the movie, so it's really one and the same. Suthius also writes, Meganda Ka, Mr. C, Meganda Ka, I'm not quite sure what it is. It sounds like it's Tagalog, though, so I'll see what Ann says about that. Hearing from Grapevine, Sonic is actually good. I wouldn't believe anything. I wouldn't believe anything. If you hear somebody say it's bad, don't believe it at this point. If you hear somebody saying it's good, don't believe it at this point. You haven't heard anything from somebody who's actually seen the movie. Anybody who's claiming otherwise is lying to you. So if you hear people start talking crap about it, ignore it. If you hear people saying it's going to win an Oscar, ignore it. Just wait till we get closer. Suthius writes, Capri, the place you ate on Knit Nightmares is closed. No idea what that means. Chaos Walking finished in 2007, now set for 2021. I don't know that it was finished in 2017. I don't know that it actually finished shooting in 2017. Although it might be, now set for 2020. There were major problems with that movie. I heard some inside stories from people involved in the film. And just some real nightmares. All right, Dimsum05 writes, what's more useless, Tits on a Bull or those channels that solely exist to re-upload movie trailers and slap their crappy logo all over them? I avoid them like the plague and only watch the trailer from the Distro's YouTube channel exclusively. Yeah, that's something my dad would always say. More useless than Tits on a Bull. That's what my dad would always say. I mean, I don't know. Look, you do what you do. I've never seen the benefit of just taking a trailer and uploading it to your own channel. It doesn't build any community. It doesn't get you any real followers. It doesn't do anything. I mean, you might get cheap hits on it, but it doesn't actually equate to anything. So, but hey, there are people who do it and that's their model and I'm not here to judge it. So it is what it is. All right. Final question of the day, guys, comes to us from Suthius, who writes, just rewatched Avatar. Slang is one menacing man. I love Stephen Lang. You know, one of the big thrills of the last, 5 or 6 years of my career was having Stephen Lang come into studio and being able to sit down and talk with Stephen Lang, man. I just love this dude. I think he's a tremendous actor. And that horror film, I don't know, is it Don't Say a Word? Is that the name of the horror film that he's in? Anyway, I love him in that. I love him, and I love this dude and everything that I see him in. So I'm a big fan of his. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic here on this glorious Saturday that I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday in and of itself. And I hope you got some great plans for tonight, either to relax or have a lot of fun with friends. Maybe sit in at home and watch some UFC fights. It's going to be a good card tonight. And of course, tomorrow is the Oscars. Watch on my YouTube channel for after the Oscars are done. I will put up my reaction video to the Oscars once the Oscars are finished. Probably do a little bit of a live stream once the Oscars are done. So keep your eyes open for that. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thank you to all you guys for being here. And a special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel while you were doing it. And all of us here at the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you for that. Keep your eyes open. I may be doing a Harley Quinn Birds of Prey spoiler discussion tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure, but keep your eyes open on the channel to see if I post that up. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.